Hello, my name is Eric, and I want to give you a little insight of my experience of being 71 years old. Welcome to the craziness that lives inside my head. So you might say, if you're young, you're really gonna say, well, you old timers, you old people, blah 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 blah. But I'm gonna be quite honest with you. When I was young, and you heard my story, I never thought that I would be. I never thought about being 60. I retired at 65, and this has happened when I was young. A lot of people, if they work till they're 65, and maybe at 5 years after that, a lot of them passed away. Not a lot of them, some of them, But usually in your 70s, a lot of people decrepit, they don't go nowhere. They're old. They're broken down, and. So I'm 71 years old. I'm not bragging. I'm 71 years old. I'm still fat. I was a kid. I'm still fat. I had a friend to me who was he was a bodybuilder, and he was saying to me, "Well, I can't do this. When I was young, I go do that. Blah blah blah. Don't you feel that way?" And I said to him, "No, I was a fat kid. I don't know what it feels like to play baseball, and I don't know what it feels like to be running track or doing all those crazy things that you did when you were a kid that you can't do today. I couldn't do it as a kid, and I still can't do it today. I lost over 200 pounds. There's stuff I could do at my 70s that I couldn't do when I was a 10-year-old or 13 or 14-year-old. I mean, I get on the treadmill. Well, I haven't for a while, but I get on the treadmill. Because one of the ways of losing weight was working out at the gym. So when I was working at the gym, and I said this to myself at the time, I said, I'm walking this treadmill for a whole hour. That was because I was too lazy to do the weights. When I get lazy and I went to the gym, I would walk the treadmill for a whole hour. I couldn't do that when I was young. I couldn't do that when I was in my 20s. I couldn't do that when I was in my 30s. What I did do in my 40s, when I lost 100 and some pounds in my 40s on my own, I did get a bike. I used to ride my bike from the Bronx down to Central Park and back to the Bronx. When I couldn't do that, I did that steadily to lose the weight. But I am amazed that I'm 71, and I'm amazed that sometimes I get depressed and sad and melancholy when a lot of the friends that I grew up with or hung out with in the 70s and 80s, they're not here today. There's one or two of them. The majority of them not here today. That's sad when you think about it. It was sad back then because a lot of guys in the 80s and 70s were dropping dead like flies. Every time I look, did you hear so-and-so pass? And I'd be like, oh my God, he's only, at the time I was 28, he's younger than me, which means he was 25. There was a lot of guys in the 80s. In the 80s, I turned 30, I think 1980 or 82, I turned 30. And then there was guys that I was hanging out with younger than me. And they were gone before the 90s, Then I had to make new friends, And then I had to make more new friends, So I never thought about getting old. When you're young and gay and fat and constantly saying you ain't gonna see, people telling you how you're gonna drop dead, and then you don't drop dead, and now you're 71 years old, it's like, wow. Sometimes I sit back and I go, wow, 71 years old. I never could imagine being this old. So what did you do when you're 70? Oh, you get yourself a boyfriend, a steady boyfriend, one who's about your age. I have a friend who's a little older than me, 73, 74 years old, going out with these 30 years old, going out with a 40-year-old. And I'm saying, yeah, well, that's nice. Can you keep up with them? Well, yeah, well. Don't forget when you was 30. I know, even though I was fat, but when I was 30, I was, When I was 30, I used to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. No, I used to leave the house at 6, which means I got up at 5, leave the house at 6. I got to take a bus and train down to Wall Street, work all day. This was when I was getting sober. Leave my Wall Street job around 4:30. Get to a meeting around 6:30. I go to AA meeting. And one I went to was an hour and a half. Then I'll stop and get something to eat to bring home to eat. And then I get home in the bed by 11 o'clock. And then I do it again the next day. I did that definitely 5 days a week because I work. And then on weekends, instead of getting up at 5 o'clock, I got up at 7. I did that. I can't do that today. You know what it is? I work today. I had to change my hours. I don't want to get up. I used to get up at 6. I used to get up at 6, and it was dark outside. I said, I don't want to get. I did this for 30-some years. I don't want to get up when it's dark outside, especially in wintertime. So that's when I changed my hours. So now I get up when the sun is up. And then I'm at work. I make sure that I get off when the sun goes down. Because for some strange reason, when the sun goes down, I'm ready to go to bed. My cousin, she's about my age, she said, I understand you. But she says to me, she said, well, when you get that tired, because sometimes if I work, because of how hard I work, I be so tired driving, and the sun is going down. By the time I get home, the sun is down anyway, and I get falling asleep at the wheel. So she said, you should just pull over and take a nap and then continue home. She goes, that's what I do. I said, I'm not gonna pull over in some dark place to take a nap. I'm gonna bring my ass at home and go to bed. Well, now you might ask me, what am I ranting about? I'm not really ranting. I guess what I'm doing is praising God, as they say, because I have no idea that I would, 71 years old. And what do you do at 71? Well, thank God that I still have my health. I'm still working. Somebody said, well, when are you going to retire? Retire to do what? What is there to do to retire? I'm not going to sit in front of a TV. I may as well work. So I don't work 5 days a week now. I work 3 days a week. And then I do my podcast. I'm talking to you people. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing. And it was a struggle, but I never thought about being this old. I didn't have a chance to. You party when you're in the 70s, I discoed. In the 80s, I got sober. Most of the 80s and 90s. And then when the 2000s came, it was a totally transition. I guess we all go through transitions. Transformation. Anyway, that was my little rant for the day. And I guess my cousin would say to me, God bless you. I'm God blessing everyone who listened to this podcast or looking at this YouTube video. And I want you to know, it ain't over till it's over. So you got to keep on pushing on. Keep on pushing. You just heard the craziness that lives inside my head.